terror attacks carried out by radical Islamists in Europe has doubled in the last year. That's according to a newly released report. Europol says the number of attacks reached 33 in 2017, way up on the 13 of the year before. The official death toll from the 2017 attacks was put at 62. Meanwhile, the latest opinion polls reveal EU citizens believe the main threats the continent face are immigration and terrorism, with nearly a third of those quizzed saying terror is now the most urgent issue. The head of one of the UK's main intelligence bodies, GCHQ, recognises the concerns.
These threats are more complex and more global, and none of us can defend against them alone. In the last year, we've played a critical role in the disruption of terrorist operations in at least 4 European countries.
OK, let's bring in David Lowe, terrorism expert and university lecturer at Liverpool John Moores University in the UK. Thanks for coming onto the programme, David. So the report shows the number of terror attacks has doubled in Europe in just a year. Is it an anomaly, or are we genuinely seeing a rise, or do you think the rate will continue to rise as rapidly as it's suggesting?
Oh, my dearest hope is the number of incidents will drop dramatically. I think it was an unprecedented year last year throughout the whole of Europe. We saw quite a number of low-level attacks, you know, with the use of vehicles, sharply bladed instruments like knives, which is relatively easy to carry out. But there were some ones where, certainly Barcelona, where they tried to use improvised explosive devices, as well as Parsons Green in London again. But fortunately, their knowledge of explosives wasn't sufficient for those bombs to detonate. So we were very lucky there. But I think lessons have also been learned every time there's an incident. They will sort of debrief what went well and what didn't go well and learn. But what's crucial, and you know, you listen to Interpol, there's also Europol within the EU, is cooperation between the policing agencies around the world. That is absolutely crucial.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned these low-level attacks. Nevertheless, it appears, doesn't it, that that it's getting worse. Certainly, in terms of the international community and the European community, we've heard lots and had lots of debates about how safe they feel. One example: a recent incident in France when a man armed with a knife tried to push a passer-by from a bridge. Again, stirring much debate whether that was a terror attack or not. Isn't there a problem with defining what a terror attack is, and where can the line be drawn?
Yeah, I think you're quite right there. It's trying to identify, and maybe an issue that's cropped up is there seems to be a delay between the police and officials declaring it was a terrorist attack, because you have to be quite clear on this. I mean, what was interesting was in Toronto a couple of months ago, we saw an individual drive a vehicle onto a road, and his cause was involuntary celibate. Now, is that a terrorist incident, or is that someone who, you know, for reasons known to themselves, they want to carry out this type of attack? And what the danger is, people seeing how easy this can, relatively easy this can be. But lessons have also been learned. If you look at many major cities and towns and where there's open air events, there are physical precautions taken, obstructions and so on, to learn from it. But as you were saying there with the knife attack, I mean, is it an assault that's not terror related, or if it's a fatality, is it a murder that's not terrorist related? This is crucial to try and determine what it is and what resources to put into it.
Yeah, I mean, David, there's also, obviously, with the surge of these attacks last year, and you said it was unprecedented, lots of finger-pointing as well going on. And a Belgian prosecutor, for example, said that the main threat comes from those who've already crossed the border and now live in Europe. Where does the blame lie? Can we identify where that blame lies? Or are people, again, just trying to, you know, find answers to these questions?
Well, we always want to find answers, and answers are crucial, because that will help us in the future to make plans and strategies, and to see if, you know, if legislation needs to change, etc. quite clearly, I mean, what we also saw was it coincided with the fall of the loss of geographical territory for the likes of Islamic State, and of course returning fighters, wanting to get back to Europe, who left those shores to go and fight out there. So that's one cause of concern. But I think what is also, as you introduced this news story, is the director of GCHQ. You can still see the work going on behind the scenes, where 4 attacks in mainland Europe were prevented, and that's where this cooperation is vital. So yes, we're always looking for answers. It's easy to lay a blame somewhere, but I think we have to be careful when we do that. There are genuine refugees, certainly coming from the Middle East and the Syria region, and it's very easy to point a finger, but I think that shows, though, there has to be care. And I understand people's concerns, going out and about, because certainly when you look at some of these attacks, they're going out to enjoy themselves, and quite rightly, you go to enjoy yourself, you sort of drop your guard a bit, and that's what you should do. But I can understand people's concerns.
Yeah, OK. David Lowe, thanks very much for your expertise. Terrorism expert and university lecturer at Liverpool John Moores University. Great to have you on the